Good morning, and welcome to Who Am I? Broadcast across the globe. My name is Amelie Starchild, and I will be your hostess for the next hour plus. We'll see how it goes. We are live streaming. We just started live streaming a few days ago, so if I'm still rough, forgive me. I am finding my voice. I have my own little mini pod, my own little personal radio channel to the world. And I get to say whatever I want to say. The show is Who Am I? The reason I call it that, we're talking about who am I in reference to source energy. We're trying to in doing this show, and so this is why it will sound rough at first until I find my legs, because what I'm truly trying to do is find a way to pull my allness together with my smallness so that the two of us work in perfect tandem for the next hour, hour and a half as we broadcast whatever it is we're broadcasting. I want to pull together what I care about, what I have come to care about, my favorite topics, what I think will help the world, together in the places where I have felt great negative emotion, where my negative emotion has been, alongside where I believe our hope is, how I've added it all together, and what I think would be helpful and interesting to focus on. All of that's what we're going to talk about. I am pulling together a number of topics and then riffing through the stars on my own. My girls and I used to call this act, we called it flying. You get into this state of just talking about the cosmos and the universe and the possibilities, and you start, from a place of feeling secure and looking at everything you have access to, you start spinning possibilities into the air. And there's no resistance in this level of conversation. No resistance. We aren't pushing back against anything. Anybody. Really. It almost sounds like I'm pushing back against fossil fuel, but I don't mean to. I bless the fossil fuel that has brought us to this place. The last rays of ancient sunlight that we are burning, that we are re-releasing those carbons back into the atmosphere like they were when those ancient forests were here and then became the oil that we're using now. I don't mean to push back against any of that. It got us where we are. And the whole direction of the conversation is my attempt, anyway. We'll see how I get. Sometimes when I go look at the chat room and then all of a sudden I realize, oh, there's people listening, it thumps me down. It causes me to land the plane, and now I'm in my smallness instead of in my allness. And the whole point of the whole show, I'm trying to find the voice where I am the two together, where I am my voice of humanity on the one hand, and I am my voice of little Amelie Starchild here, broadcasting from beautiful downtown Corrales, New Mexico. Who am I? Who am I? And what are the concerns of a human being on planet Gaia? I would call it planet Gaia now. I would like to turn her back into planet Eden. But we will talk about that as the hour progresses, perhaps, or as the weeks go by. I don't know. We're going to talk in hope and possibility always. Always we look at hope and possibility. That's where we are focused. And why are we focused in that direction, you might ask? Because That is always the direction of your inner being. Always your inner being is focusing forward, never looking back. Now, I can look back. I can turn and look back, and sometimes I can do it with regret. I can do it with sadness. If I focus in certain ways, I can really start to miss people that aren't here anymore. There are things that I can do. I can do that. I am capable of doing that as a human vehicle. That allows me to do that, but my inner being never does that. My inner being is doing something different. And the object of the exercise that as I have come to see it, and I think that this should be everyone's object of their exercise, is to align your two selves together, whoever you are. Whoever you are, know that you are two selves. The one self that you are is vibrational. It's connected to everything else. It believes the win for you is the win-win for the whole field, because it recognizes that when you are a whole working cooperative system, the abundance level that you are able to create from that level is extraordinarily higher than the abundance level that you are capable of creating from yourself as a solitary me against the world kind of entity. And so your inner being is standing in this win-win position, looking forward, seeing possibility, and that's you. It's your overview vibrational self, looking at the world as it really is, the physical world as it really is. Did you know that your spiritual self is deeply, deeply aware? It's grounded in reality, in actual physical reality. Your spiritual self, your vibrational self, is grounded in physical reality. That's kind of what Abraham means when she talks about being the leading edge. Here on the leading edge, the physical reality is what all the vibrational is reverberating about, you know? That's how it works. So you do have an overview self that really is giving you guidance. So really listen to her. And don't worry about people thinking you're a goody two-shoes just because you keep leaning that direction. As a matter of fact, if you are standing in your center and focused from that direction, truly, you probably start getting very, 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 very positive. And you know, there's people out there, you can see them, the ones who have done it really well. Now, there's others, it kind of starts feeling forced a bit, because I think we need to acknowledge as human beings that there are a couple of things in a really big place that are kind of problematic, and we should feel some sadness about it. It's true. Now, on an ultimate scale, even if the planet blows up, we're all right. In a way, because the universe is all right and consciousness is all right and the whole thing is designed to give you what you want. You just have to figure out that it's giving you what you focus on. And so you have to decide what to focus on. Are you going to focus on what you want, or are you going to focus on what you don't want? What you have that you don't like? Is that what you're going to focus on? Or are you going to focus on what you like? Because you're getting whatever you focus on. That's the lesson. Well, that's one of the lessons. That's one of the lessons. What are some of the other lessons? Now, just in case I got somebody listening to me right now, and I probably don't, I hope so. I hope my indigo friend gets a nudge. I wish I knew how to tell him that, or her, I don't know who it is, that I'm trying to come on at exactly the same time. So if they're interested in picking me up, here I am. But I'm not looking yet, so if you're listening, I can't see you. I'm going to keep riffing from this high non-resistant place, what happens when because I'm not really good at this. I'm trying to drive this starship of mine in a way, I'm trying to take all the lessons that I preach to heart, turn them back at myself and go, oh, look what I'm saying about, the nature of my vehicle and how this works. Because just like Abraham or Bashar or whatever who are channeling perhaps other entities, I think Abraham is more channeling herself. She's not, it's not an individual entity. It's her own general connection to source without much of Esther in, I'm trying to pull the two together, at least here in this show. And from that seat, speak about all the things I care about, both in my allness and in my smallness. Not necessarily from my absolute allness, but from my earthly allness. Me as humanity, me as here on planet Earth, the biofield of the planet, the things that I care about. Sixth mass extinction, wars that won't end, deserts that grow, a garbage patch in the Pacific Ocean, climate change, growing climate violence, and there's all kinds of things that as a bigger human being I care about. In my allness I care about. In the negative. And then in the positive, all the possibilities. And it is actually in the focus of the possibilities that we are going to find our way out of the wilderness. Our pathway out of the wilderness is going to be here. And although it seems like in the description of my show I'm pushing against fossil fuels, what I'm really going to do is I'm going to advocate for source energy. I'm going to advocate for over unity, because that's going to take us farther. That's going to be more energy, more available right now to everybody with all of their great ideas, and they can quit munching up the biosphere in order to capitalize. Everybody is sort of being forced to capitalize, forced to offer something to the greater whole. Offer something to humanity in order to have that golden ticket, or actually it's more of a green ticket, into the supply chain of humanity, so that they can claim something that the rest of us, create, whether it's a healing modality or a technology or a bed and breakfast, a hot meal or a warm bed, or both, or an entertainment, or a organizational force factor. That's what foremen and managers and such are. They are organizational force factors. They can be highly employable. What we're all asked, forced, whatever, required, encouraged to capitalize. And this capitalization gives us our ticket into selecting off the buffet of the supply chain of humanity. And I have my dollars in front of me, and it gives me choices. I can take a trip. I can go out to eat. I can go play a round of golf. I can pay rent. I can go to the grocery store. I can this, I can that. And the more that I have capitalized, the more choices that I have on the buffet that is the supply chain of humanity. And what with the internet and focus and attention actually being a true currency in the universe, it turns out that your ability to pull eyes in your direction actually turns out to have monetary value. If I can do that slickly or authentically or however, it doesn't matter. I can cause a rumpus over here, and then film it and then put it up on YouTube and it'll go viral, whatever. I can get the eyes over here, and that will capitalize me too. Now, what does all this mean? We're just trying to understand who we are from a position of just allowing it to be, without at any given moment thinking that we are different than we should be. We are what we are, and we are where we are, and it's all okay. And from this voice where I am in my Who Am I studio, there is no pushing back. We're not pushing back. We're looking forward. We're seeing the possibilities, what is possible on planet Earth. And it is amazing. We do not have to tumble into darkness. We really don't have to. We can if we want to. But we don't have to. And what would make the difference is us knowing who we are and how this works, and that it actually is possible to just quit pushing back against everything you don't like and just turn your face the other direction and start walking where, what do you want to do? Do you want to open up a bed and breakfast? Do you want to move to a different state? Do you want to make a big picture? Do you want to go eat a... Well, you have to start small. You do have to start small. Now, everybody wants to find their big path. How do you find your big path? Well, for me, it's been a journey of figuring out who I am. And honestly, this Who Am I show, that's kind of been me doing this outward presentation about certain things that I think are important to the rest of the world, has been for me a journey in understanding who I am, and me finding my path and my voice, my two voices actually, who I am as my big self, who I am as my little self, and who they are together, hand in hand. And I don't mean that grand. As a matter of fact, I have no grand life at all. It's very small. I don't have a large field of influence, not directly where I am. I would like to affect a larger field of influence farther away from where I am, but only in this gently positive, inspiring the rest of the field to its own alignment. I don't really want to focus on any specific problem, because the specific problem is not my business. I've got the specific problem that I address is the fact that the whole world seems to be, or a lot of the world, the human world, appears to be out of alignment with itself. That's all. That's the only problem I can see. And I think that from that problem is springing all the other problems. So I don't want to talk about the specifics of any of the specific problems, because I know what the source of the problem is. The source of the problem is misalignment. The source of the problem is not understanding who we are. And the source of the problem is not understanding that pushing back against what you don't like actually gets you more of that, and more of that arena of that problem, as opposed to driving your starship away from the problem and into the arena of where the solution is. Do you know what the solution is? It's over unity. Over unity at first, and then source energy direct, Casimir plates and the whole 9 yards, lab created singularities, and for gravity control, and as well as perhaps energy source. We have such an amazing future, but we've got to understand who and where we fit into who we are and how we fit into all of that, because the whole universe is made of consciousness. It's made of frequencies that consciousness can read, frequencies that consciousness can dial into and live, and frequencies that you are affecting and creating and dancing with right here, right now, and everything. So it's all connected, and it goes all the way from the biggest big that you can possibly imagine to the tiniest, all of the universe dancing on the speck of a proton. It's kind of that sort of scale. And if you understand that all of the information is everywhere and it's exchanging everywhere, and it is that energy that is the 0-point energy field, that is who you are, it's the field that you inhabit, when you realize that that's the shape of it, then you realize that actually the best way, the shortest distance between 2 points is not a physical line in the physical plane, but to realize that both points are standing on the same point all the time, and the trick is to tune into the frequency. Now, I don't know exactly what that means, but there is mathematics that supports the structure of the universe as being holographic, being, spinning, the fullness spinning of the holographic space-time divine matrix structure. To understand this matrix is to understand ourselves, is to understand gravity, is to grant mankind unlimited energy for now and forevermore, and all human beings, even the ones on the edge of poverty. We can do away with all poverty, global poverty. Within 2 decades, it could be gone. But we have to start working this direction. We have to understand what's possible. So let me explain what over-unity is. Over-unity is a device that puts out more energy than we put in to run. So that we put in the form of, we're running it with fossil fuels, or, we're plugged into the electrical, I don't even know. We've lit it on fire. I don't know. Over-unity is possible because the truth of the matrix is that at every point, anywhere, already exists almost, might be unlimited, it's virtually unlimited. It's connected to the energy of the entire multiverse. It might as well be unlimited. At every point is that level of energy. Now, you have to understand the way that it's organized. You have to understand the whole spin that we all share. There is one big spin that the whole universe is spinning with, and that one we all share. It is Source, and it is us dancing together in this beautiful cosmos. So let's get back to over-unity. Why do I claim it's possible to be able to get more energy out of something than we are using to? Well, there's a lot of different ways to do it, and I would advise right now, I wish I had a way to just give you this link, but just go find it. It's on YouTube. Put in the words "The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It." Full movie, if you have to. It's about 1 hour and 49 minutes long or something. It's a pretty long movie, and it has a lot of stuff in there. It has a lot of stuff about extraterrestrials, about our story here on planet Earth, and energy. The Lost Century. It's a documentary, but mostly talking about over-unity devices and how they have been snatched away from us in the name of national security, and that might have been true at first to a point, but then that sort of just perpetuated, and there are forces in power right now, specific individuals holding the reins of power, who don't want to let it go. They don't want to let it go because a lot of things, a lot of realities on the ground, mostly created by paradigms that aren't necessarily true, that if we all just kind of stopped and reset and then quit pushing against each other but started working together, and we don't, so next time when we decide to overthrow those who have, we shouldn't spend any time hanging the rest of the culprits. Now, back at Nuremberg, that might have been necessary just to make the statement, marking it in blood for history. This can't be tolerated. Now, personally, I think there was plenty of blood there, and wouldn't have been nice had we taken a different spirit. But, you might think I just talked gibberish. If you don't know me, I am a student of history, and World War II, Nazis, the whole German, the Holocaust phenomenon, all of that. I read tons and tons of historical fiction about that, and then later nonfiction works like Hitler's Willing Executioners. That's actually a really good book. Many things. I watch everything that comes out on Netflix or whatever, but not usually. The more the best one I've seen came out this year on Netflix. There's actually two pretty good ones. One about Hitler and his inner circle is really good because it's a whole organizational structure organized, in their case, along this very negative energy, this negative belief pattern, this negative philosophy that they had, and I thought they were incredibly wrong about the nature of the world and the universe and what constitutes winning and all of that. But as a study, as a case study, it's fascinating. And the whole thing played out so raw and stark on a naive world. I mean, the whole thing, to look at it from certain vantage points, is just breathtaking in a sort of in a gut-wrenching kind of, taking the wind out of you, gut-punching sort of a way. But because of that, because I have felt big feelings for something that I think matters to humanity, which is that phenomenon of authoritarian psychosis and the whole populace not understanding, following the negative authority figure. The one who stands up and says, "Elect me, I can fix it. Only I can fix it. Just give me all the power. Give me all the reins of power, and I will fix it." And so they did. Now, there's sort of a partial thing that's happened here like that in the United States. I do not think it's exactly the same at all, and I don't think that we're going to hand him all the power in the same way. For one thing, we are not Germans, and this is not 1930-something. We are Americans. It is 2000-something. It's the 21st century, and we have been raised for the last century to be me-centric. We are not trained to just go along with the crowd, oh, it'll be all right, kind of a thing. We might have done that a century ago. As a matter of fact, humanity did it last century, and we called ourselves Germans back then. I don't know what part I played back then, but if reincarnation is a thing, I'm sure I was there somewhere, because from the beginning, that whole phenomenon has fascinated me. And then there have been times when musing, when just kind of flying in my own thoughts, it has occurred to me all of the things that we have done in the last century for entertainment. I'm a big television person. I love television. I'm a baby boomer, and I grew up in the 60s and all of that wonderful, delightfully crazy, absurd television. Light and fluffy, Bewitched, I Dream of Jeannie, Partridge Family, Brady Bunch, Andy Griffith's Show, Dick Van Dyke, That Girl, and then later some of the more mature stuff. Well, I don't mean mature stuff. I was about to say some stuff that maybe isn't all that mature, but later on, there was some wonderful things that came by. Cheers, Frasier. I still watch Frasier. I probably have watched Frasier at least, all the way through at least 20 times. It's a regular cycle I go through now. I can almost recite all the lines, And some of the best lines are Martin Crane lines. He's got some good stuff, If you're gonna kill yourself, don't use drain rat poison or drain cleaner. And if you're gonna use an axe, get it right the first time. I'm sorry. He has lore. He has that sort of qualifies as lore. He gives you his buffet lore and anyway. Oh, so why did I go into talking about this? Because through the act of doing something that we wanted to do because it was fun, we created this whole medium that has scattered our attention into 8 billion different directions. Kind of, not quite 8 billion, but millions of different directions. And now we are no longer as leadable as we were a century ago. I'll tell you what my theory, this is how I see it from this perspective, what the World War was. And which World War, do you ask? But this is how I refer to the World War. It's one World War, parts 1 and 2. Because quite frankly, Hitler was the one who invited us back to part 2, and he was absolutely never finished with fighting World War I. He was still fighting World War I when he invited us all back to World War II. But when you say World War I, World War II, in the English language it implies World War III. And we don't need World War III. And we don't even need to worry about World War III. We don't even need to look that way. And if we'd quit looking that way, we probably wouldn't have World War III. So let's call it the World War Parts 1 and 2. Because it was absolutely Hitler's thing, and he took it all the way to the end till he couldn't, and he expected all of the people who believed in it to the soul's end that he did to fight all the way till they themselves were ashes on the heap of the fire. Such an interesting phenomenon, and so important for humanity to understand what this was. Don't stand in a place where you imagine that you're safe from this phenomenon and say, oh, I didn't do that. That was Germans that did that. That was over there. That wasn't us. We were the good guys. Remember, we were the good guys. But you know what? That same spirit was and is everywhere. The problem with that regime was that spirit became organized. And that's what the problem is if there is a problem over there on the MAGA side, it's a spirit problem. It's not, and the problem, I would say, is not that they are bad spirits, demons over there, ooh. It's not that. It's misalignment. It's misunderstanding who we are. We are not in a paradigm of us versus them. And that's what I think Mr. Trump's biggest problem is that he believes that we are in a win-lose paradigm, and the only thing that he thinks we're all going to get tired of winning but he's living in a win-lose paradigm. And so what that paradigm creates is a bunch of losers. And I don't want to create a bunch of losers. Unless it's really true, if he wants to pivot to a win-win, I would like to advise him to the pure positive, and without pushing back against him in any way, without pushing back against, because he is us. We are all each other. And there is an aspect, there is a vantage point from which that's really an interesting and helpful vantage point from which to look at it. That we are us. Now, we are also our individual selves, and this is what is sometimes lost in the wholeness. Sometimes when you get too carried away with, oh, we are the group, and we all must sacrifice for the group, just like, a single cell in my body doesn't really matter, only the 50 trillion others that, well, if you got that kind of ratio, maybe you could say that. But still, everyone is still an autonomous being that chooses its way every step. It has to be that way. So what happens is when you get into a situation where you're focused on the allness that we are, then you start sacrificing the individuals for the state. And you get a state that is in lockstep and groupthink, and you don't want any of that. That's not what you want. That is what the conservatives are correct about as they point at something over there that they are worried about, that they think is connected to the behavior of human beings, socialists, Democrats, that sort of thing. This connection at the group level, at the allness level, that they are afraid of. There is a thing to worry about, but if we all understand who we are and line ourselves individually up correctly, and then with that general understanding also configure our greater systems around us, whatever we end up choosing would be blessed. It would be all right. We just have to understand that there is this greater organizing force already in play, literally swirling around us. And the most important thing that you can focus on at any given time, have your projects, have your little plans, your little things that you're doing, your businesses that you're designing, your systems that you are putting into place, whether they are human systems, working for the local public works department, or whether they are systems in the private sector somehow, somewhere, some way. Keep in mind the general principle of the win-win, knowing that I have an inner being, and you have an inner being, and they have an inner being, and if you can get everyone to, first of all, if your plans and schemes really do create a win-win-win-win for the field, then you've really got something going. Now, you don't have to do it you don't have to always be consciously cognizant of what everybody else in the field specifically needs. That's the beauty of the system. All anyone needs to do in order to be beautifully harmonious with all the rest of the field is get beautifully harmonious with your own self. And you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Your inner being will help guide you to the thoughts, the impulses, will hand you vibrations that you will, from that vantage point, translate into ideas that will lead you to the steps that will lead you to ultimately happiness. Dreams come true, things falling into place, synchronicity starting to happen, loving relationships beginning to bloom and blossom and flow and form for you in the field and for all of us. For all of us. We actually need to understand our greater design in order to meld and merge and harmonize with one another, while at the same time understanding the absolute divine autonomy of the individual. And so the answer is to help each other find their own way, not charity, but opportunity and recognition of mutual worth and all of that sort of thing. And, yada, yada, yada. It all sounds all well and fine. But I think that the injection of a new energy source is going to, well, forgive me for saying this, but I think it's going to literally inject energy into the equation so that more people with great ideas can go out and make them happen. People who want to get busy recycling that freaking garbage patch in the Pacific Ocean. Do you know what it would take to recycle it? Unlimited energy. Free, clean energy right there. Where you don't have to bring... how else are you going to do it? Are you going to have big fossil fuel burning, trash sucking machines, coming through and churning it up? No. You need free, clean energy. Because free, clean energy means that the ideas can start flowing. The limitation will never be from the energy source. The people living on the edges of the Sahara Desert, or any of the deserts all over the planet who have no way to cook their food, and maybe they aren't living in the pure indigenous way like maybe the people in the center of the Kalahari who are probably living in a manner that does not grow the desert, but I don't know. The people living on the edge of the desert who have no access to any energy whatsoever. I mean, there's the sun, there's the wind, but they don't have any technology. So how do they cook their food? They cut down whatever scrub they can find and burn it. And then every day they have to go walk a little farther to get more. And so the desert grows. We don't have to live this way. Our future does not have to look like this. I know that when you look at what we've got, it appears that, and when you focus on the conditions actually on the ground, well, I'm not sure. I don't want to focus on the conditions we've actually got on the ground. I'm busy focusing on all the hopeful places. And one of the hopeful things I see is that there is a spirit of consciousness all across the planet that is growing. This recognition of us as an allness. Now, I may be pivoting on my show, so this may be a good moment to go look and see whether I have anybody watching. Be prepared for me to be a little disappointed if I come over here and my friend has not found me today. If he ever listens to my back feed, I would like him to know, or her, I actually have no idea what this person is. It's a human being. This human being. I'm going to try to go on the air at the same time, which is 6 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And we'll see whether that holds when the time changes, but 6 a.m. Mountain Standard Time sounds like a good time to me. And here in the winter, it's plenty early enough, because I can get done, it's barely light by the time I'm done. I'm going to go over right now. I'm going to pause on my recording. And I'm just going to go over and I'm going to peek. I have no views. Oh my gosh. Wow. Well, you know what? I think that this, what's happening, I'm getting an error. And I think this error is stopping me from being fed to other people, which, wow, what is this? No views. Oh, okay. That's just my time. Huh. I'm still live streaming. Okay, well, let me go back over here. Alright. Okay. I am paused. Yes, okay. Alright. Alright. Not to despair. I keep getting an error message over there on my stream, which I think is causing me to not be seen on people's feed. So I think I need to solve this morning for sure, so that I quit getting this error. It doesn't start immediately, but it starts a few minutes in, and then now I don't know. I don't know. But it's interesting to me, the life that came into my presentation at the very thought that there might be somebody over there listening to me at any given moment. Very interesting. So, there wasn't, but there still might be at any moment. I'm not sure about that. I just don't think that my the fact that I am live streaming is not coming up to some people who might be interested in picking up on it. So I think that my error message is causing that. Well, that's disappointing, but there's still plenty to talk about. I can practice talking about the things I always like to talk about. Now that I know that there isn't anybody listening, there's going to be a little bit of a deflation factor happening in my... isn't that sad? So who am I? Who am I? Where did I come from? Where am I going? Who am I as a... Oh, actually, that was really fun. The riff I did was 42 minutes long. 45 minutes long? 46 minutes. What am I going to do with the rest of the time? Hold on. I'm going to pause here, because I don't want to just do this. Alright, I want to look at this. Maybe I can solve it. No, that's not what I want. I want, photos. Error. Please use a keyframe frequency of 4 seconds or less. Please use a keyframe. Okay, let's go look. It's here. Please use a keyframe frequency What is the keyframe frequency? Huh. 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 Sorry, I think I'm still streaming, but I don't think anybody's listening to me. I should go back and look just in case. Oh, let's go see Ray. No views. Okay, so that's all right. I'm sorry, and the playback here is going to be terrible. So I think I'm going to end the stream. So, sorry if you listened all the way to the end for me to do some sort of a fabulous ending. I'm so sorry. But maybe I'll see you tomorrow. Okay.